Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video, we are looking at Robinhood Markets. It is time for another update. And today we have quite a lot of downside. We are down over 13%. The earnings report has been scaring off quite a few investors, it seems. And the structure itself doesn't seem particularly complete. It doesn't seem to be suggesting a bottom to be in place right now. And I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what is going on, where is this going? And what type of pattern can we really expect? Is there an opportunity here? And we are looking to answer as much of that as possible today. We are going to take a look at the structure, the levels to watch out for, and the pattern we can realistically expect, because there are a couple of options we could be tracking. So let's start with a larger time frame to actually provide the context of this chart. And here we have been tracking this idea of a larger leading diagonal. Technically, we might be able to make the idea of an impulse work somehow, but I do not find that to be too favorable, based more particularly on the internal structure of this as a wave tree to the upside. It doesn't quite satisfy my expectations internally. So we have been considering this to have been a wave 1 up. We were looking at the wave 2 to have possibly bottomed here. This is still a perfectly acceptable option, with the mention that just as well, the wave 2 could have bottomed here, right? This is not preventing me from expecting a substantially larger correction within this as a wave 4, which could play in very well with these latest developments, as within this movement to the downside since the wave 3 top. It seems quite likely at this point that we will be building an initial 5-wave pattern down, which means that we wouldn't be looking for that to be the wave 4 bottom. We wouldn't be looking to necessarily form the reversal to new all-time highs from this structure's low, but rather we would be looking for a larger A, B, C pattern within this as a wave 4, potentially extending this correction quite substantially. Regardless of the exact proportions of this wave 4 correction, we have the area of support clearly defined here on the chart. We have had it ever since we failed to extend directly higher within this wave tree, right? Back when we were still tracking the possibility of an impulse. That was actually quite early that we got an indication of this structure breaking down. But now we are watching the levels between $75.6 down to $24. As long as these levels still hold, we can look for continuation to new all-time highs within a wave 5, which would form a complete cycle. Well, of course, we would also need the wave 2 correction afterwards, but it would complete an entire 5-wave pattern to the upside that we then could track as a larger wave 1, and we would have a confirmation that we would expect even further extensions to new all-time highs in the long run, right? Don't forget that we would still expect a pretty substantial wave 2 correction once this would have a top in place. Now, this is not the time to dream about the days where we have the confirmation in place, because we have yet to build it, and within this movement to the downside, we have been tracking a couple of options. We were looking for a potential impulse to be building internally within this structure. We were preferring even a possible extension within such a scenario, and in this structure, we have been tracking the resistance levels up to the 50% retracement at $89. Now, since we have gotten a break above it and it has stayed there for a couple of days, this scenario might not actually be too salvageable. Sure, I could definitely still track it. It hasn't been a very sustained break, and ultimately we did fall below it within a couple of days, right? Now, this basically leaves me with two options. Either I am still looking for this scenario to take us to lower prices, and sure, there is the possibility that the bottom within the wave 4 is technically still in place. We can reverse even from the structure we have currently available, but let's focus on the bearish scenario first, because we will get to that as well in a moment. So either we are looking to extend within one more low, fulfill our larger expectations of an ABC structure, and consider the wave 4 to have potentially bottomed. That would be great, that would be amazing. We would be looking for the reversal to new all-time highs from the next low. But if I actually consider this scenario to have failed, I do still have an option within the area of an impulse being in place in this area, but I would need to consider that this wave 4 would have actually been here. Yeah, the wave 3 would have bottomed here, the wave 4 would have topped here, and then the 5th wave would have actually completed this structure. In such a scenario, in such an expectation, it means we actually needed to bottom already, right? But what if we still extend lower? What if we do not manage to form our reversal from the current levels? Well, that would imply that this was instead a wave 3 to the downside, that we are looking for an initial 5-wave pattern within the area of an impulse in a 1, 2, 1, 2, wave 3 down, wave 4 up, wave 5 down. This would complete a larger wave 3. Then we would still need even a 4th and a 5th, and even once this structure would have a full 5-wave pattern, we wouldn't be looking for the wave 4 to have a bottom in place. No, no, no. We actually need to build a larger A, B, C structure, because this wave 4 needs to be a 3-wave correction. This means that if we extend to lower prices outside of this scenario we have been previously tracking, where we have broken briefly the resistance levels, we should primarily be expecting a substantially larger correction within the wave 4, at least within this scenario we have been tracking, where this was an impulse. Right? Because if the wave 3 was this entire movement, not just this internal structure, the resistance levels would have actually survived this 1 degree larger correction. Now, we weren't focused on this interpretation on the chart previously, because we had another scenario that would have still allowed an initial 5-wave move to the downside, and had even deeper resistance that needed to be broken for an indication that we wouldn't be extending to lower prices. We didn't want to confuse everyone, providing all the different possibilities, and then we actually needed to break above the 61.8% retracement in the orange scenario we have been tracking for this idea of a leading diagonal in a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, where within this as a wave 3, we have been tracking this as an A, B, C structure instead. For me, this would have been building a leading diagonal, right? A 5-wave pattern to the downside still within a wave A, and this would also lead to a substantially larger correction within this as a wave 4. And I'm not going to impose that it has to build a 5-wave pattern, right? We can still consider this possibility of a wave 5 to be taking place part of a wave C, even if we extend to lower prices. But personally, I now want to focus on the idea where we might have an impulse building, where we haven't broken above the resistance levels, and functionally this will not change the opportunity that will be in place once we form this next low, because again, I am still considering a potential bottom, but I personally do not have a lot of faith in this structure. I would prefer stronger confirmations before looking for an actual opportunity. So I am going to keep these two scenarios in the background. They will still be available, but I want to instead focus on this idea of a 5-wave pattern taking place, where this would be building an actual impulse within a wave 3, and even then we will have resistance levels to watch out for continuation to even lower prices, as within this interpretation we would have an additional 1, 2 already in place from the all-time highs. Without getting even more into the details here, let's focus on the internal structure, because from the latest lows, we unfortunately failed to create an initial 5-wave move to the upside, which is what confirmation looks like. Unless we build an initial 5-wave move to the upside, or we break the resistance levels we would have available for any structure, we really do not have any confirmation that a bottom would be in place within the structure we are tracking, right? From this degree, we only had a 3-wave move to the upside. We still had resistance levels up to the 61.8% retracement in orange, which would have gone a lot higher before removing that pressure. And this doesn't mean that this pattern cannot form the reversal from such a structure, but it doesn't provide us an edge. It doesn't provide us a high likelihood support zone to look for a position. In the case of this structure, I cannot track anything more than just a simple A, B, C pattern, This can work out within literally any interpretation, and if I want, I could be looking even for a larger A, B, C structure to be taking place, let's say, and we can have an area of support we would track for such an interpretation, but I wouldn't find this to be a high likelihood. Just as well, we could be extending directly to lower prices within this wave 5 in white or any of the other two scenarios we have shown today. But if we want to track this, the primary levels of support we would be following would extend down to the 78.6% retracement at $69. Sure, they are still holding currently. Sure, we may even see a larger leading diagonal be built, but this is not a pattern that I trust. I see many other great opportunities available in the market that present much better structures, short-term, long-term, everything, much better probabilities, and this is not one of them currently, and I would still be patient with this one. If I were to be tracking a structure within this area, I couldn't rule out even the possibility of an impulse to be taking place, where this could work out even as a series of 1-2 setups. This structure could work out as an ending diagonal, where this would be an A, B, C structure within a wave 1. I do not really care at the moment, and as long as we do not break internally within this movement to the downside, at least the 50% retracement, I cannot rule out even an impulse to be in formation, where this structure could extend quite substantially, quite easily. So unless we get above $76.3 based on the current low, I am looking still for strong pressure to extend to even lower prices. Sure, if it pushes directly lower, this area of resistance would need to move along with it, but for now, this is not my focus. I am zooming out on this chart. I am waiting for a better structure from the larger time frame perspective, and this is just not there yet. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and if you enjoyed the content and want to support it directly, check out the channel membership, and other than that, let me know what else you'd like me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead, and until then, I wish you a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.